always a fun question. And it's funny because I don't think I set out with that intention. It just sort of kind of became part of my acting career, which is really exciting, because I started in theater and I got that start. It's been like over 16 years now, I think, which is crazy. And then in college, I got more into film and TV. And then I randomly got this casting call audition for Funimation, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I sent in my information and went into audition, and I didn't hear anything for like a year. And I was like, that's fine, it's no big deal. And then randomly, like a year later, I got an email and they were like, hey, can you come in and record Walla on this show? And at the time I didn't even know what Walla was, but I was like, yeah, let's go. So that was really exciting. And that was what kind of, I guess, made me interested in it, because prior to that, I had only watched one anime, which was Soul Eater, and I liked it, and I thought it was super cool, but I didn't realize that that was like a career people could have. And so I kind of fell into it by happy accident, honestly, just by going in and auditioning, and then a year later hearing back from them, and little did they know what they were getting themselves into. Day in the life of a voice actor. A lot of it is being in my super hot recording studio, which is my walk-in closet. And I don't have any kind of ventilation or anything in there. So if I'm in there for multiple hours at a time, it's like, oh, yikes, I need to shower now. But a lot of it, honestly, I check my email like 80 million times a day. So it's a lot of checking emails, seeing what auditions are coming in. Honestly, a lot of it at this point is checking Twitter, to see what people are saying, what fans are saying, what other voice actors are saying, and then, congratulating them when I see casting announcements, because I'm genuinely thrilled for them. And yeah, I think a lot of it is networking, checking email, creating your own opportunities. So like, even if I don't have an audition to record or something else going on, I'll just hop in my little booth and go practice voices and just exploring my own voice, because that's part of the job description too. Yeah, it is interesting because I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. So to an extent, it's like staying home, I don't mind. And right now I live with my family. So I'm very fortunate in that I have people that I live with and get to see every day. So I still have human interaction. But it is interesting because I, for the most part, still record physically at Funimation. And, back in the day, pre-COVID, everyone was there. You would run into people in the hallway heading to the bathroom and strike up conversation. And now you walk in and basically everyone's recording from home. So I'm the only one in my particular studio, and then both the director and the audio engineer are plugged in from their houses. So I hear their voices, but I don't see them. So it's definitely, it hasn't impacted necessarily the workflow at Funimation, but it's changed the connectivity between all of the voice actors and the staff. So I'm excited to see where we go from here. Funimation's done a really good job taking care of us, making sure that we're safe and COVID compliant. But when they move into their new space, I'm excited to see what that's like. Absolutely. So the first anime that I ever watched was Soul Eater, and I watched the dub on Netflix. And that really kind of lit the fire under me, because prior to that, I didn't really realize that women could voice boys. Because in theater and film TV, you might see that, but for the most part, what you look like is what you're selling and what you're going to play. So when I heard Brittany Karbowski was voicing Black Star, I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I thought that was super cool because it was breaking this mold that I had been so accustomed to over the years. And so I kind of wanted to try that because I'm a lower pitched female, like my voice, it doesn't go super high. And I was like, maybe there's a role for me in this world. So Brittany Karbowski is a big influence on me. And Laura Bailey, I have looked up to her for the longest time. And I think so many people do, because she is the kindest human being. And she also just has so much vocal variety and the kinds of roles that she can adapt to and bring to life. I find that very inspiring. So those are two of my influences. Ooh, in my career so far. There was actually a point, so after I graduated college, I got a theater degree. And I was doing pretty good for like a year after I graduated and was getting cast in plays pretty consistently. And then that just kind of stopped. And I kind of went through what I do consider to be a quarter life crisis, because I started questioning, well, is this what I'm supposed to do with my life? Am I supposed to be an actor? Maybe I should go get a real job because I'm so in debt. And so I found myself questioning a lot about who I was and what I believed in and what I thought I wanted to do with my life. And so I took about a year off from performing in general. And it really opened my eyes to why I was performing, because originally I, did it because I loved it. And then I graduated and I was like, okay, I have to do this and I have to make money and I have to be an actor because that's what an actor does. So suddenly it wasn't because I loved it. It was because I felt like I had to do it. And I think that was the big shift for me during that year hiatus. Because then I came back, and when my mindset changed, I realized I started getting cast again. And it was because I was auditioning for shows and agreeing to roles that resonated with me and that impacted me as a human being, and that fit my idea of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to pursue. So I got back into it and been rocking and rolling since then. But that was definitely a hard time for me, just questioning who I was and what I wanted to do in life when I thought for sure that I knew. Okay, but is it a cop-out if I say Kyoko Hori?
It's definitely not a cop-out.
It is. No, it honestly is really, really bizarre to me just how much of myself I see in her. And then that was really cool, because that meant that was more of my life and my own personality that I could bring into this character. And now she is immortalized forever. And that's so cool to think about. But much like Hori, I am a type A personality and I'm the oldest sibling. And I have this need to be very organized and like group mom without meaning to be group mom. So I find that very funny. And I think it's important too that she has this realization, partway through the show, that when you let yourself soften and you allow yourself to be vulnerable with other people, it can change things in your life in the most profound, beautiful way possible. And I think that's something that I've come to terms with recently, because for most of my life I've been very stoic and very down to business. And it was only like in the past few years that I realized, like, let go, have fun, and open up to people, because you only get one life and you only get one chance at friendships sometimes and these opportunities, and say yes and just be the light that you were called to be. Absolutely. And I think I didn't even realize it was bleeding into the next question, but like it's that same thing where opening up to others and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and make those friendships and nurture those friendships and just opening up and letting yourself be light and accept light and feed that light back out into the world. I do feel like there's still a stigma attached to mental health and mental health awareness. I think we're slowly but surely becoming a little more open to discussing it and talking about, possible past trauma and our emotions. But I think one of the biggest things that has helped me is finding a creative outlet and a way to express myself. And maybe it's not necessarily creative, maybe you like cooking or skateboarding or, sports or something, but finding something to get super connected with, and then, maybe connecting with other people through that, but finding a way to express yourself just in any way, shape, or form. Because then when you become so open in that regard, you find yourself opening up in other ways and maybe being more willing to discuss, things that you're going through personally, or being more willing to listen to other people and their problems. And the more I think that we listen and discuss with one another, the more, mental health becomes more talked about and less stigmatized. I think like a lot of people, high school was a really rough time for me. And my sophomore year, I went through a particularly dark time, and I won't go into detail, but my parents ended up finding me and they got me the help that I needed. And I spent 2 weeks in an inpatient facility with a bunch of other people my age who were in high school. And we would get together, and it was a very, structured environment, and I thrived off of that. And it made me feel very calm and relieved my anxiety. And we all got to, talk about our problems and what our issues were. And I realized that people come from all kinds of backgrounds and have these problems. And I didn't feel judged in that environment. And I think we all felt very safe. And so going forward, that's something that I've tried to bring into my own life is, being less judgmental and listening to people. And, if they want, some sort of feedback or they need comfort, just listening to what they need and want at that time, which is something I'm still working on. It's something I haven't always been good at. But yeah, I went through a dark time then, and then I went through, I guess, what I still call my quarter life crisis a couple of years ago. And now I've kind of changed my perspective on life and my goal in life. And my goal is just to leave people better than I found them. And you can do that in any number of ways. And I think that's why it's so great, because I don't feel limited. I can do that through my art. I can do it through coffee when I work at Starbucks. I can do it through conversation. There are so many avenues, but I really feel like that's my calling in life. Anime is so cool because it is this animated medium that addresses so many important topics. And a lot of times they don't address it head on, so you don't even realize what you're watching. But it's these underlying important messages of hope and of strength. And I think that's why it resonates so strongly with me, and why I connect so deeply with it, because I'm like, I've been there. You see these heroes and they're like, look at how far I've come. And I'm like, yes, I am right there with you. And so I love that they can address these topics, maybe in a humorous way, in a lighthearted way. They can attack it in this like action-packed adventure type way, or a rom-com, or any number of ways. And so that allows it to be more accessible to all kinds of people. And I think that's also really important, because anime is no longer this like dweeby, dorky, stigmatized thing to watch. I don't want to call it mainstream, but it's become so accessible. And I think people are really realizing that it's a great medium to watch, because it does talk about so many important topics. For me, it was finding a really good support system. And it could be anyone. It could be friends. It could be family. It could be, I don't know, hopefully not a stranger you find on the internet. But I mean, it's some way to cope healthily, and some way to vent your frustrations, talk about your feelings, and then having that support system give you exactly what you need back. Whether it is constructive feedback, whether it's a shoulder to cry on, maybe you just want someone to sit there and watch anime with you. But it's important to let them know what it is that you need, so that they can reciprocate that. And I think finding a creative outlet for me was important. And for others, it could be just finding a hobby, finding something that you're really, really passionate about. And it doesn't have to be your career. It could just be some, little side hobby that you really, really love. But finding something to go all in with, and then sharing that love with the world.